welcome to Paranormal Kativity. Today I'm celebrating my 1-year YouTube birthday. Yay, 1 year! I can't believe it's already been one. It's gone super fast and has been amazing, so I wanted to celebrate it by doing a birthday Q&A. I asked all of you guys about sending me questions for this, and a lot of you responded, so here we go. How did you discover YouTube, and what made you make your first video? Discovering YouTube as a website, it's been around so long I really don't know when I first went to it or why. What made me make my first video was the fact that I was watching a lot of other people sharing their paranormal experiences at the time. I've had so many, and all of my people that I know in real life have already heard the stories, probably ad nauseum by now, but I knew that there was a whole community of people who didn't know and would really be interested in it, because if I'm interested in watching it, somebody else is too. What made me make my first video was wanting to be able to share those experiences with YouTube and to also share some of my knowledge of the paranormal and unexplained and supernatural, because a lot of it I didn't really find on YouTube, but I felt like I had quite a bit of knowledge about it as well and wanted to share that with you guys. What is your favorite kind of candy? Lemon Jolly Ranchers. At what age did you start liking paranormal things? I would say my whole life. I really can't remember a time where I didn't have an interest in the paranormal. How did you get into YouTube? I turned on my camera and decided, hey, I'm gonna start from the beginning. I will tell you guys how I grew up in a haunted house, and then I'll just go from there, logging all of my information that I have about my personal experience and the knowledge that I have and things that I find interesting, and just roll with it. What paranormal thing do you want to have happen to you that hasn't already? Oh, there are so many. I would love to be able to experience apports and asports in person. I would really love to be able to see other forms of materialization in general, and I really want to be able to catch solid evidence on camera or video or audio that's just irrefutable and amazing. What is your opinion on 5 Seconds of Summer? I don't really listen to them, but I know my cousin Sammy in my Warped Tour video is all about them, and she loves them, so they gotta be good, right? What got me into the paranormal? I would say just feeling and experiencing things and not really understanding them, but knowing and having this sense of rightness about it. But whenever I shared it, it was always approached very mysteriously, like, oh no, that can't be real, that's not right. Kind of being denied the fact that you're experiencing something just makes you more curious about it. And this one was kind of a comment, but you should create a name for your fans. I kind of thought that not too long ago too, but I don't know what to call you guys. So if you have any ideas for that, tell me. Have you ever experienced any demonic presences throughout your life? No. What is your favorite paranormal thing to talk about? For me, it would be personal experience. If it resonates with me on a personal level, it's gonna be more exciting for me to talk about. Are you religious in any way or at all? I am. I consider myself to be very spiritual. I do feel like every religious path and non-religious path have validity and something to learn from them. I don't really prefer to talk about religion on my channel just because I feel like a lot of the things in the paranormal and my experiences kind of fringe on spiritual anyway, and I never want to come across preachy, but I do consider myself a very spiritual person. How do you protect yourself when doing paranormal research? With that, I'd say trust your gut. If you feel like you need more protection, take a minute. Do a meditation, do a visualization. If you're not good with that stuff, do a guided meditation. If you feel connected to objects and things, keep something special with you, maybe an heirloom or a memento from somebody you care about or love. If you're connected to stones and herbs and things like that, carry something with you that just makes you feel a little more safe and secure. Visualization is a big one for me, so if I feel unsafe or unsure, I kind of just visualize like a personal bubble that's really a shield, and everything else kind of has to get pushed away from me a little more. What did you major in when in college? I went to a school where I really wanted to be a theater major, but they didn't have one at the time. So I went for communications with an emphasis in theater, and I did not graduate. I, at the time, was working as a choreographer at the school that I had previously graduated from, and I was doing a show in Indianapolis, and I realized all of my theater directors weren't people who had degrees and that they didn't make much money. So I really didn't see the value in putting a lot of money behind me having credentials when I didn't need them to be working in the industry that I wanted to. So I took some time off, still haven't gone back. If I ever found something that I felt like I needed to further my education to really do, I would totally go back in a heartbeat. Even right now, I've gotten back into theater directing and I love it. It's okay to follow your own path sometimes. Have I ever had a paranormal experience in the theater that I work at? I think every theater has some paranormal energy to it. I can't really think of an instance in particular. The first thing I think of is during the last show, I felt a tap on my shoulder and I thought, oh, I felt it, it's here. And then I went to the after party and was telling some of the students, and one of them was like, oh yeah, that was me, I was just screwing with you. I'm like, oh, awesome. Plus we like to have as I think most theaters do, little rituals and tales of lucky and unlucky things that we do. And I know we have this one doll that's super terrifying. I think she was a baby alive, but she had like a skeleton behind her face and her skin was rubberized and like you could pull it away from the skeleton and it like snapped back into place and it was all dirty and gross. And we stuck her up against our prop gate and she was kind of like the demon protector of the props, and the kids all thought it was hilarious. I thought it was hilarious. And just this year, we accidentally left her downstairs because we were using her as a prop in the show we just did, and another group was using the auditorium and they destroyed her. They ripped the skin off of her creepy face and broke her neck and pulled it all behind her head, and it's on my Instagram. It's terrifying. And so now we say that the demon baby curses the theater, but she doesn't. So there's also like little things that aren't necessarily paranormal experiences, but things that are at least weird that we do in our theater. But I think that adds to the magic of theater in general. I had quite a few people ask me, what is my most exciting / most intense / scariest / favorite paranormal experience? And they all boil down to the experience that I shared in my first Ouija boards and my scariest paranormal experience video, which was whenever we went to the beach house, myself and my cousin. We wanted to communicate with whatever was there, we'd had vibes and feelings, and when we tried, it didn't manifest in the way that we thought it would. And it ended up being a very long day into just multiple accounts of weird. And the coolest part of it was us both hearing this loud phantom music coming from the front room that had no source, was super loud but inaudible at the same time, and it just faded into nothing. And just seeing and hearing and feeling and experiencing so many things so close together was definitely the most exciting thing that I've ever experienced. And now being, you know, over 10 years removed from that experience, if me myself right now could go back there, I would in a heartbeat. I would be investigating to the nines. I would be recording everything. But when I was there in that moment, I didn't think to, and I really am hoping that I get another opportunity that awesome to be able to experience it again and really capture something to share with the world. What are some of your favorite haunted places in your town or state? Quite a few years ago, I went on a walking tour of my town, saw all of the local haunts and heard the stories about them. And quite a few of them, I remember the stories, some of them I just remember the locations, but I was planning a video once the weather kind of gets a little better of me showing you around my town a little bit and just sharing some of the stories, so I won't really get into that now. Have you ever been stalked by a spirit? As in seen one multiple times or been messed with by the same entity? I would consider growing up in a haunted house to fall into that category, because the things we experienced, we being myself and my brother and occasionally our friends who happened to be there that we could show them, those lasted the whole time we lived there. And I was there, I don't know, like 15 years, maybe not quite that long. I would say that's definitely being kind of stalked or screwed with for a long period of time by the same thing. What is your best and worst Ouija experience? Worst, I would probably say any of the times that I've attempted to play over the years and you don't really get anything, or you get the same energy doing the same thing over and over, like just going in circles or going in a figure eight or just saying the same word or their name over and over. So that gets really boring really fast. As for my favorite paranormal experience with a Ouija board, I would say whenever we would do Ouija at my friend's house in high school and we had two adjoining rooms, and we would have a group playing Ouija and then one person leave and go into the adjoining room by themselves and either do or say or motion or think something. Then they would return into the room, not touch the board, but then the people would ask what that person just did, and it would give them the correct response. For example, held up 2 fingers behind their back, or whispered the word elephant, or did a cartwheel. You know, it was random stuff, and it always knew. It was just a really interesting way to experience Ouija. It was definitely one of my favorites just because there were so many people involved, so many elements, but we still got factual, solid information. It was really cool. Have you ever touched a doorknob and had a vision? No. But when it comes to touching things, I have gone to a developmental class before on psychometry. And if you're not familiar with psychometry, it's being able to hold an object in your hand and read it psychically. While I did it, I got a few impressions, as I do anytime that I try and flex those psychic muscles. Like, I get things, but I don't know what they mean. I actually, though, had a friend at that event with me, and she ended up doing a full-blown psychic reading on somebody from that object, and it was totally dead on. And since then, she's really gone into developing her abilities in that way. And so I know it works for some people, so if you've ever touched something and read it, explore that skill set, because it could lend to a whole new realm of awesome in your life. What is your favorite paranormal story? I shared one not too long ago in my ghost hunting video, I think, but it was talking about the guy from Ghost Hunters talking about doing research before the show ever existed, where he spoke to multiple families whose kids all had an experience seeing the Hat Man, and they were completely across the country and had no way of being connected. So stories like that, where there's just evidence from multiple places pointing to the same thing, I find very intriguing. Have you ever looked up or researched abandoned places? What is your opinion on them, and which place is your favorite? I know there's a few that you can explore through Google Earth, which I thought was awesome when I first discovered that, so I've done some online but not in person. I have explored a couple abandoned places, but nothing huge. I am in the process of trying to explore a couple more. I'm just going through the logistics of it to make sure I do it safely. My favorite abandoned place that I ever encountered was on vacation in Michigan. We were along the coast, and there was this one abandoned house that I'd seen every year. Every time we drove by it, I was just so drawn to it, and this year it had a for sale sign in the yard. We went in the driveway, I started looking through the windows, I was pulling on the doors. And I know I probably shouldn't have been, but I wanted in that house so bad. But it was the one year that we took our dog with us on vacation, and he had no idea what was going on. I was really freaked out. So he was just barking like crazy in the car. So I was like, it's okay, it's not that big a deal. So I took a bunch of pictures, and we ended up calling the realtor to see if we could like organize a tour while we were there and just explore it and act like we were home shopping. But they told us that the property was for sale, but the house was condemned and was being destroyed before the lot was going to be available for purchase. So the house no longer exists. I'm sure they've probably built a gorgeous new home there, but that was definitely my favorite abandoned place I've ever been to. Do you have any experience with hypnosis? Whether you've been hypnotized someone else, or just seen it happen? I do. I sleep to guided meditation or hypnosis almost every night. There's actually a kid's book. I believe it's The Rabbit Who Wanted to Fall Asleep. You can find audio of it on YouTube. I sleep to it occasionally, but it's basically a kid's story where they use hypnosis techniques to hypnotize your kid to fall asleep. It's really cool. And I went to a developmental class once on hypnosis, this one being about past life regression hypnosis. So we watched them go through a whole past life regression hypnosis on someone. It was really fascinating. Myself and my sister did a hypnosis trick when we were younger. We didn't even know what we were doing. We called it putting people into trance, which it was. It was kind of hypnosis. What we would do is we'd sit cross-legged, and we'd have each other or one of our close friends lay with their head in our lap, and we would rub the temples and slowly talk to them and guide them into like a somewhat sleep state, and then we would have them visualize just going through a door, and then we would just ask questions, and that person would just share what they were seeing and experiencing in kind of like a half dream state. And I know that multiple times we ended up in a library and none of the books could be read. You'd open them and they were gibberish words that you couldn't focus on well enough to actually see words. And I like that we intuitively kind of knew, because this was way before either of us had any experience with hypnosis. Would you rather be attacked by a poltergeist or scratched by an evil spirit? I vote poltergeist. I'm pretty clumsy most of the time, but I feel like I could dodge. If something scratched me and actually touched me, I think I'd be way more creeped out than if I saw something flying at my face and had to dodge it. Which is your favorite scary story that you've heard, fictional or non-fictional? And which is the scariest? I would definitely say out of fiction and non-fiction stories would be the scariest, but my favorite story would probably be from the book In a Dark, Dark Room. It's a kid's book. It would be the story The Green Ribbon. In The Green Ribbon, it's a story of a girl. She always wears a green ribbon around her neck. Occasionally people ask her to remove it or why do you wear it, and she'll just kind of dismiss it. Eventually she falls in love. Husband asks about it. She's like, I'll tell you someday. Long story short, she goes and ends up on her deathbed, and she's like, I love you. I can tell you about it now. Go ahead and remove the ribbon. He unties it and her head falls off. I don't know why I love that story so much. It's not overly creepy, but something about it just hits me, and I remembered that story for years. I'd forgotten what book I heard it in, but I loved it so much, and then I saw the book in a bookstore, like on the main table by the entrance one day, and I was like, oh, I loved this book, and I opened it, and there was the story, and I was like, oh, I found you. Who is your favorite child that played Rumpelstiltskin? This was asked by one of my drama kids, who in the last play I directed was Rumpelstiltskin. You guys might have seen him if you follow me on Instagram in my video from the last show where I have all of the kids dancing. We did like a pre-show dance party just for fun, and we had been doing it on the stage, and then we started having patrons come in and take seats, so we did it in one of the classrooms that we were using to get ready. I would say you win. You're my favorite Rumpelstiltskin. Who is your favorite serial killer from a movie? And the examples they gave were like Jigsaw, Hannibal, Jason. For me, I would definitely go Norman Bates. The person who inspired the story of Norman Bates and Leatherface, the real-life serial killer Ed Gein, is my favorite story of a serial killer. And I'm super fascinated by the story of Norman Bates and all of the different iterations. The movie Psycho is just brilliant, so Norman Bates gets the winner on that. What made you start believing in the paranormal? For me, it was never something I had to start believing in, if that makes sense, because it happened at such an early age and so often that it wasn't necessarily like a belief. It was something that I more felt like I knew. It was very akin to like a spiritual experience, because I would get that sense of knowing and just knowing that there was something more that I could feel and sense. When it's that much of a connectedness for me, it was never something that I had to like start believing in. It was just always there. Have you ever had an experience lasting longer than 5 days? And can you make a video on it? I would just refer that back to growing up in a haunted house. Weird stuff happened for years. When is your next fan meetup? Never had one. The closest I've had was whenever I covered Horror Hound. I let you guys know that I was there through Twitter, but I didn't really have an opportunity to meet up with anybody because I was there and out so quickly. I would love to do a meetup with you guys and meet in real life. If there's a good sized group that wants to meet in Indianapolis somewhere at some time, tell me about it and we'll organize something, because that would be amazing. Have you ever had an ironic paranormal experience that you predicted would happen? In my video, worst case scenario brain, I kind of go into this. I was having a stressed out day. I wanted to go buy pie. I left my house in pajamas to drive to town because I lived in the country. It was like 15-20 minutes to town. Got my pie, coming home, it's snowing, and in my brain I see this flash of me spinning and ending up in a field. Anytime I have weird thoughts like that, I'm just like, no, don't think it, and I focus. My focus came back and the car was spinning and everything was white, and I was like, oh crap, this is happening. And so I end up in the field, and I'm like more pissed off about the fact that I knew, but I didn't know early enough to stop it. Is there anything you don't believe in? I feel like terminology is such an interesting thing because it can unite and divide people in an instant. For me, at least in my knowledge and what I define, I don't necessarily feel that demons are real. I know that there are a lot of people who do. I have nothing against anybody who believes anything differently than myself. At least for me, that's not something I personally connect with. Now, I am very open about the fact that I feel that my personal spiritual and metaphysical and paranormal development is always going to continue to grow as I learn and gain new knowledge. There might be a time in my life where I change my mind on that, along with a lot of different stuff, because I feel like all of those things are adaptable and grow with you as a person. At least at this time, that's the first thing I think of as something I don't believe in would be demons. Do you have any YouTubers you would recommend? Before I started doing YouTube, I was super into LadyLocksLife. She's definitely like one of my favorite paranormal YouTubers. And if you haven't already experienced or know LadyLocksLife, she's the bomb. The next one that I think of would be The Haunting of Sunshine Girl, Paige McKenzie. I have really liked her channel for a very long time. She does like an episode by episode linear movie in a way about a haunting of a young girl and what she goes through. It was just a really interesting way to use YouTube as a platform and to create something creepy, and it was very original. So I've always been a fan of her channel and the things that she does. Those would probably be my top two recommendations. And of course, links to those will be in the description box. If you could investigate any haunted place in the world, where would it be? I have so many places that I want to travel to in the world, a lot of them being historical kind of relics. I don't know if you'd necessarily consider them haunted, but I would love to go to Stonehenge. I love Mayan and Aztec ruins. I love Egyptian pyramids. We don't have castles in the US, and I know there's a bunch of haunted castles other places in the world, but as for just pinpointing one place, I'm not sure I could. So really, I would be open to just experiencing anything and everything I was ever given the opportunity to look into further. What paranormal phenomenon do you most want to experience and why? I just keep going back to like apports and asports and materialization. I have always thought that those were so cool because it's tangible. That is definitely like the thing that I want to experience the most myself. Now I do get a lot of questions in my comments section. A lot of them are recurring, so I thought I would address those here. I do get pretty often, what should I do if my house is haunted? I would first and foremost say talk to it, and don't talk to it through a Ouija board, because while you guys know my opinions on Ouija boards by now, I don't feel like that's a great way to communicate with ghosts if that's your intention to find out information. I just feel like it's such an easily manipulated, purposely and accidentally, form of communication to where you can't really trust what you get in a literal way. So I would definitely say just talk to it. If it's something that scares you, something that I did growing up was I would be like, thank you for letting me know that you're here. I appreciate it, but you're really freaking me out. Whether you mean to or not, I don't know, but you need to leave, or you need to back off. Give it different rules. Then if it doesn't follow the rules, you can do more. But most of the time, I've at least found that it's not necessarily something that wants to scare you. And so if it realizes that it's coming across scary, it's going to back off. It's not wanting to freak anybody out, it's just existing. I would also say if it's something pretty strong, you could always cleanse your house, and I've done a video on that. There's so many different ways that you can cleanse your house. Or if you feel like you don't want to, like you're too freaked out to do anything about it, or if you have any mental health issues or instabilities, it would be best if someone else handled it rather than yourself. Let somebody else handle it. Another one that I get a lot is, how should I start a YouTube channel? What I did as an approach to this channel was I wanted it to be consistent, concise, make sure you're doing something that you love, that you would want to watch. I have learned a lot being on YouTube and just living in the last year. It's been an incredibly transformational year for me. I've gone through job changes, sleep changes, I've gone through relationship changes because I got engaged. I've learned that if you mispronounce something in your videos, you will get called out on it, and sometimes trolls will even act like you're an idiot. I've also learned that Louis Anderson must somehow be John Candy, and people are misremembering John Candy's death, but I'm not. They're totally different people, and so we just need to get that through our heads. When I talk about Louis Anderson in my More Mandela Effects video, I'm not talking about anybody else, I'm talking about Louis Anderson. If I was talking about somebody else, I would have told you. I've learned that Draw Something stopped being popular a while back for a reason, because good God, it's hard to keep up with. Now I hardly have people who play with me, and I totally get it. I have no hard feelings. If you do decide to do YouTube stuff, you're gonna have trolls. Luckily, I haven't had very many. You have the power to delete people and block people, which is awesome, so do it if you need to. I also learned that keeping up with comments on YouTube gets to a point that you can't as much anymore. It's crazy. It's a very good problem to have, but I just can't keep up with replies. I read every single comment you guys leave me though, and I love them. I love the interaction that I've been able to get with likes and comments and shares of my information on my videos. It's amazing. So please continue to do it. I apologize if I don't reply to your comment on YouTube. I'm still really active on social media, especially Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. If you contact me on there, I am way quicker to reply on those than I am on YouTube, so if you ever want to get a hold of me, feel free to. I'm pretty accessible, and I plan on being so because I like having this community with you guys. Overall, my experience with YouTube has been nothing but incredibly rewarding. If I had it my way in a dream world, I would do YouTube all of the time, or have a career in paranormal entertainment. My real passion all of my life has been the paranormal, and through doing this, sharing what I know and love on YouTube, I feel like it's really connected me to what I really want to do, which is experience and share paranormal, unknown, mysterious, supernatural things with other people and grow with it. You can turn something you love into something more than you imagine it could be. Even though we might not be the majority, we're definitely not a small group, and I'm so glad that I've been able to connect and find so many of you. So thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, for coming back and watching my videos, and for being my YouTube friends, because it means so much to me to be able to really find like a true home online with an amazing group of people. I'm just so lucky to be a part of it. I love you guys. I mean it from the bottom of my heart and soul. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for just being here, and I'm so excited to see where this next year goes, and I'm excited for you guys to come with me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have an amazing holiday. Have a great new year, and I love you all. Bye.